So for those who are not aware, if you haven't heard, they unveiled a MLK statue in Boston on Boston Common, and it is absolutely horrible. And it's received a lot of criticism. The artist was on CNN recently trying to, defend his work. And this is not to come down on the artist. I talked about this on Sunday because I was so pissed off. This statue cost $10 million.
What?
$10 million.
Get it right?
And so to the artist's defense was, this is what the people of Boston wanted. What people? Who are you talking about? Who signed on for this? I didn't sign on for this. So there's that. And then the other excuse was, well, this is what the family wanted. Now, the clip that they showed on CNN, the only family member that they showed speaking out was MLK III. So he was like, oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. But I want to show you another family member, which they're not talking about. And I read this person's article on Sunday, because this is the family member that people, it's kind of like there's that one family member that people they ain't really talking about. Seneca Scott. So Seneca Scott is Coretta Scott King's cousin. So I think he's running for mayor, or he ran for mayor or something like that in the Oakland area in California. Anyway, listen to what he had to say about this. And by the way, that's the nicer angle. If you go around the statue, it looks like two hands holding a big, fat dick. It really does. I'll show you the picture. But let me tell you what Seneca said about the statue.
To acknowledge that it is Martin Luther King Day, and nothing should detract from his radical vision, Tucker. And he was assassinated by the U.S. government. You've talked about JFK's assassination recently. Yep. This was in the same period. And he was assassinated right when he was escalating from talking about racial bigotry to class and in the war in Vietnam.
I noticed.
And my cousin picked up that mantle and proudly, and I'm a very proud member of the Scott family. So I was rather upset to see that statue, to be honest with you.
Well, you make a good point that no one ever says out loud, but he had shifted to populist economics. I have no idea who killed Martin Luther King, but it's very obvious it was not James Earl Ray acting alone. He had 2 foreign passports. He was escaped from prison. The whole thing is ridiculous. Why is there no interest in that question?
Well, I think that it's a big moment, and there's a lot of pressure when you spend $10 million on something.
Okay, so that's that part. And then I'm going to show you the other angle, because I was so mad about the statue that I don't even
understand, Sabby. What is it supposed to be? Like, what are they saying it's doing? I can't tell where even the position of the hands or anything is. I can't tell what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I couldn't either. It's so crazy.
It's supposed to be the picture of MLK and Coretta Scott King hugging each other, but they didn't put their faces on it. So I'll play this clip here because I was so mad about this, man. I was so pissed. So what I said was $10 million spent on an MLK and Coretta Scott King statue, and most people have no idea what this statue is supposed to be. So I said, why not take that $10 million and invest in Black neighborhoods in Boston instead? So I'll play this because this kind of sums it up. It's a short clip. Here. Some people complain, well, that statue isn't great either. It has his face, though. Do you see the difference? I said, big difference here. DC statue versus Boston statue. And this is the picture that you see on the thumbnail. It says, I have a dream. And there's the MLK statue in DC. And then if you come down to the bottom left, it says, I have a nightmare. And then you see the Boston statue. And so this is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what angle you are looking at this statue from. Right here, it looks like a big fat, you know what I'm about to say. And it's just, to me, you have to understand what MLK means to the city of Boston. MLK went to Boston University. If you go to BU, right outside of the theology school, they have a picture. They have one of those columns that says Boston University, and it has a picture of MLK, and it talks about the time that he spent at Boston University. They didn't even take the time to find an artist that could do a face. Let's just do the arms and the hands. Nobody knows what that is, bruh. Nobody knows. Now, this article was written yesterday. Let me tell you what Seneca Scott said. Let's get into it. The new Boston sculpture honoring Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife, Coretta Scott King, looks more like a pair of hands hugging a beefy penis. $10 million were wasted to create a masturbatory metal homage to my legendary family members, one of the all-time greatest American families. They actually spent $10 million on a statue that most people, based on the comments, have no idea what it is. They could have taken that $10 million and invested it in Black neighborhoods in Boston instead. Let's fix those schools in Roxbury and Dorchester so the kids don't have to hope and pray that they get a part of the educational lottery so that they can get on a bus and go to Newton and go to the good schools. Yeah, so the point is, it's ugly. They didn't even put his face on it. Like, you can see the difference between the Boston statue and the DC MLK statue. And $10 million, you guys, like, that's
this is no
ridiculous.
accident. This is no accident. There's no way that this is some accident. $10 million. No, we don't know what the picture's gonna look like. Get the hell out of here. This is no accident to me. Go ahead.
And CJ, remember the study that I broke down in our segment, I think last week, where there's a vast difference on how Black people want to approach racial issues versus how white, Asian, Latinos, white, Asian, Latino people, they want a George Floyd holiday. They want these statues. They want virtue signaling. And they want to punish the racist Karen that is exposed on social media. But when it comes to structural issues, they have no problem with how structural racism impacts our lives. Oh. Meanwhile, when you ask Black people what their biggest concern is, we don't give a fuck about statues. We don't give a fuck about holidays. We don't give a fuck about these virtue signaling, kente cloth kneeling bullshit. We want structural change. We want our debt owed in our pocket. We want the healing process to begin, which has never began. So that's what we want. We want structural change. We want what is ours. But everyone else, they want this stupid bullshit, and they can't even do that right.
Well, they just started. They just started like a reparations task force in Boston, just like in and they're doing in California. Wow. They just started one. I'm like, but you just wasted $10 million. Like, why not put that money into those communities? Fix the schools. Fix the damn schools. The kids shouldn't have to hope that they get approved and get into a charter school to get a decent education. The kids shouldn't have to hope that they win the educational lottery so that they can go to the schools in Newton and Weston to get a decent education. But you blew $10 million on a statue. That's ugly. And I'm sorry. The artist was on CNN again this morning and he was defending his work. And I get it because he's an artist. But that was $10 million that was wasted. That money should have been put into the Black communities here in Boston instead. And I felt like this is a disgrace. I don't understand how anyone, especially Black people here, I don't understand how you can applaud it.
They just pretty much going, man, they spent $10 million and it's for him. So I'm just applauding. There's no way you can look at that and go, I would pick this. There's no way. Like, if you get a multiple choice, I would pick this to be like, I just simply don't know what it is. And like I said, this is no accident. These people have to be drugged to even have a Martin Luther King holiday. They don't even want to name it Martin Luther King holiday in Arizona and places like this. Yep. Like, this is no accident whatsoever.